As an Australian, I am all too aware of the lethality of wildfires, the pain of drought-stricken farmers and the frustration of townspeople affected by water shortages. I empathise with viewers and listeners who are facing these challenges this evening. What this moment calls for is honesty, pragmatism and a sense of perspective. Instead, what I think we are getting from this government is cynical, ideologically motivated hysteria. On Wednesday, Andy Burnham chaired a COBRA meeting to address the heatwave and wildfires. I don't think the wildfires, which thankfully have taken no lives, justify a meeting reserved for catastrophic emergencies, but I'd give him the benefit of the doubt if this wasn't...
Well, there you go. This is GB News Originals. I'm Emily Carver. Please do give this video a like and subscribe to our channel for more content like this, and do leave a comment. Let me know what you think.
...part of a wider political agenda, but I think it is. Last night, phones across the country were spammed with emergency messages, a system that was sold to the public as being necessary for catastrophic disasters is now being used to tell you not to have a barbecue on a warm night. And then came what I think is verging on climate change propaganda. Andy Burnham told us that this can't be the new normal, as if the UK can somehow control the climate.
We cannot accept this as the new normal. I'm here in the West Midlands where fires have destroyed homes, forced people to evacuate and left firefighters injured while protecting others. And this isn't happening in isolation. Much of England and Wales is in drought. This is what climate change looks like, here and now. It's why I chaired COBRA this week and why we're taking action.
A reminder to Andy that the UK contributes 3/5 of bugger all to global carbon emissions. Ed Miliband, in a desperate attempt to connect his new job with his old obsession, wants you to believe hot weather is a national security risk.
This isn't normal. Or this, or this. These heat waves are sending us a message. We can all agree that national security is the first responsibility of any government, and the climate crisis is now a serious national security threat to the British people.
And the new Secretary of State for Energy Security and Net Zero, contradiction in terms if I've ever heard one, ignored the fact that the vast majority of fires have been deliberately lit and went straight to the pulpit.
Want to know what climate change looks like? Ask a firefighter. Wildfires on this scale once felt like something we watch happening elsewhere in the world. Now, they're on our doorstep. This summer, firefighters have been battling wildfires across the country.
This isn't a rational response. The rational response would be to address immediate threats to people and property and consider practical solutions, building water reservoirs, reversing the ban on controlled burning of heather and grasslands, and encouraging upland cattle and sheep grazing. In fact, misguided climate change policies have limited grazing over the last 20 years, leading to a 25% increase in highly flammable grass. In other words, the climate zealots have turned England into a tinderbox. I think that pragmatism isn't the goal here. It seems the goal is to scare you. Because Labor's net zero project is built on the delusion that by going further and faster than other countries on climate action, that will somehow materially change the global climate. And if they can get you to believe that, then they can use climate action as convenient packaging for a leftist revolution, wealth redistribution and a centralised economy. This isn't just about solar panels and wind farms, ladies and gentlemen. It is, as Ed Miliband puts it, about transforming the economy more profoundly than at any time in 300 years. In my opinion, to this government, wildfires aren't a problem to be solved. They are an opportunity to be exploited. I'll go to the panel now. We go first to Reform UK's London mayoral candidate for 2028, Leila Cunningham. Leila, what do you make of Labor's response to the wildfires across the country?
Well, number one, I find the hosepipe ban remarkable. I mean, we are an island. We should have so much water. I think the last large reservoir was built in the early 90s. We have a huge... It should be treated as a critical infrastructure, and that's what Reform's going to do, actually. We're going to build more reservoirs and ban a hosepipe ban. I was just in Spain. I don't think it's rained for a while there either. You know, they're sprinkling away all their grass and everything. It's crazy that every time... You know, and by the way, this is not climate change. I know you're going to say it is.
It's not climate change?
No, it happened in the 70s. It happened in the 70s. How do you explain the drought in the 70s? Which was very similar. Actually,
there has been a series of superlatives set this summer. Records have been set. It is getting hotter and hotter.
It was the same in the 70s.
Fires
it was
around
the
the
same
country.
in the 70s.
The planet, the country is on fire.
So
even if
was the 70s the same?
Sorry?
So was climate change... In the 70s, we had the exact same situation?
It is consensus within science that temperatures are rising.
Alice, what we...
But I think
Beyond that
it
is
was
climate denial.
change, which I think is debatable, because here we're talking about
It is not
wildfires,
debatable.
which have been purposefully lit in many occasions. But even if
And
it was
spread
climate
wide, 'cause
change,
it's so incredibly
what
dry.
we're talking about here is the way to deal with this. And as Will laid out, there are practical solutions, or there is a campaign of fear. There's a campaign of guilt on the British people. There are higher taxes and centralisation. And that is what we're moving towards, when in fact we only account for, 1% of global emissions, where China is going ahead and building coal-powered plants, and no one's saying anything about that to them. So we are not the largest polluter anyway. We're not the largest producer of CO2 emissions. So why is it that the British people and children in school and adolescents are made to feel panicked, are made to feel in fear, and are made to feel guilty for something which is evidently not our fault? And why is it that the British people are being punished by governments such as Labour and Ed Miliband, who are ultimately going to tax us more? It's just, this is not the way to deal with
Can I just be clear with what I'm dealing with? Sorry to cut you off.
I don't want to get into the debate of whether or not this is climate change.
Well, no, it's really important.
Let's laid out her argument. Let's assume it is, for example. Let's assume it is.
Okay.
Let's take Alice's premise that you cannot change the climate, even if it is climate change, because we do not contribute meaningfully to global emissions.
So to that,
take it from there.
Yeah. So to that, I would say if you add up all the countries like us that have about 1 or 2% emissions.
You mean 0.1?
Something like that. But if you add up all those countries...
0.1. You'd have to add up a hell of a lot
if you add up all
to get
those
to 100%.
countries, I'm still trying to make this point, Layla. Let me get to the end of the sentence. You get a third of global emissions. So if we say, oh, screw this, let's give up, and everybody else does the same, that is a massive chunk of global emissions.
Could I ask again, why are we not planting more trees?
Can I just say one thing?
Great. No, I would agree with you on that.
So what we've done is that we've hollowed out our manufacturing. We've outsourced all our technological needs to China, which is a kind of a geopolitical competitor / enemy, right, for all our infrastructural needs, for all our supply chains. In fact, they produce over 80% of solar panels, and we've patted ourselves on the back and said, yes, we've gone green. And to really rub salt into the wound, they use much higher emissions to produce those solar panels, and they ship them over. And in the meantime, while we've done that, while we've deindustrialized our country completely and made us completely dependent on China, we've given them, aided them to become a global dominance, right? So basically, they've deindustrialized the West, made us dependent on it, and in the meantime, they've built up the skills, the factory, the know-how, and we have not, none of that. For the technology of the future. All in the pursuit of net zero.
I think I'd agree with you on a lot of that, which is this is the area that we need to be building out in terms of our industrial strategy. It's high-value manufacturing, isn't it? But that's not a reason not to pursue this. That's not a reason to say we shouldn't have solar panels. We need solar energy as part of our mix.
But the problem is energy costs are too high to produce them here, so it is not... They're produced by private businesses who want to make a profit.
Of course they are.
Right. So if energy costs are so high, 9 times higher than the rest of the world, in fact, the highest in the world, they're not going to be produced here. Everyone's going to go for the cheaper source, and the cheapest source right now is China. So it is not economically viable for us to produce solar panels, yet we are still pursuing net zero.
Well, the reason the energy is so expensive, sorry to cut you off, is because of marginal pricing. It's because we rely on the cost of oil and gas, which is set by the global market. If we can move away from that, we can lower the cost of energy and be supreme as well.
There's a more fundamental question here, because the only rationale that I've heard from you is...
When Westminster whispers turn into wildfires. Welcome to Britain Underneath, where we unearth the uncomfortable realities lurking beneath the polished surface of British political life. Before we plunge into the heart of today's storm, please do take a brief moment to subscribe to the channel, click that notification bell, and join our growing community of discerning viewers who prefer their political analysis served straight, sharp, and without the spin. Let us dive directly into the quiet panic sweeping through the corridors of power. There is a particular kind of atmospheric pressure that settles over Whitehall when a government realises it is losing control of its own narrative. It is not marked by dramatic shouting matches or sudden resignations, but rather by the abrupt rise in bureaucratic theatre. Across Britain, heat waves, scorching drought conditions, and sudden flare-ups of wildfires have pushed emergency services to their absolute limits. The response from the top was swift and rehearsed. An emergency COBRA meeting convened with maximum public visibility, accompanied by nationwide alert notifications buzzing on millions of mobile devices. On the surface, it appeared to be a textbook display of decisive governance. This sharp disparity between official rhetoric and practical action is precisely where modern British governance begins to fray. Rather than addressing the boring, long-term groundwork of critical national infrastructure, building essential water reservoirs, restoring controlled land management, or investing in basic civil defence capacity, the political apparatus routinely defaults to managing public perception. It is worth taking a deep breath here to truly absorb how deeply this pattern has embedded itself into the British establishment. Take a second to stay informed, because understanding these mechanisms is the only way to make sense of the constant cycle of outrage. If you appreciate this level of grounded analysis, please do take a moment to subscribe to Britain Underneath right now. Your support genuinely helps this channel remain independent, sharp, and focused on unearthing the truths that mainstream outlets so often gloss over. The strategy currently on display relies on converting real, tangible administrative failures into broad ideological battles. When ministers stand before the press and immediately pivot every immediate operational challenge into a sweeping, high-minded national security crisis, they effectively shift the goalposts. Suddenly, the debate is no longer about why Britain has not constructed a major strategic water reservoir in over 3 decades, nor is it about why frontline public services are constantly caught on the back foot. Instead, the debate becomes an abstract, grandstanding conflict over long-term net zero ambitions, global responsibility, and moral posturing. It allows politicians to project an aura of profound purpose, while quietly sidestepping their most immediate, basic responsibilities to the taxpayer. This approach creates a profound disconnect across the electorate. On one side of the political aisle, critics view every government warning as an attempt to stoke unnecessary anxiety, packaging far-reaching economic interventions under the guise of emergency management. On the other side, advocates argue that the state is not moving anywhere near fast enough to tackle systemic environmental shifts. Yet lost in this relentless crossfire of political rhetoric are the ordinary citizens, left navigating the consequences. Farmers facing severe crop reductions are handed modest emergency relief funds only after the damage is done. Communities living near vulnerable greenbelts are left hoping the local fire service has enough operational equipment to handle the next blaze. The focus remains perpetually fixed on the political optics, while the foundational nuts and bolts of the country continue to wear thin. What makes this dynamic so intriguing is how quickly it erodes public trust. When emergency mechanisms are deployed so casually, their impact begins to diminish. Citizens become desensitized to official warnings, viewing them not as vital public safety announcements, but as routine political theatre designed to signal virtue rather than demonstrate competence. The British public has an remarkably keen eye for patronising governance, and nothing sours the national mood faster than being lectured on personal habits by an administration that seems incapable of maintaining basic utility standards. Consider the geopolitical irony at the heart of this strategy. While domestic policies impose increasingly tight restrictions and financial burdens on British households and businesses in the name of global leadership, the world's largest industrial emitters continue to expand their carbon footprints unabated. We are told that Britain must lead by example, even if it means deindustrialising key domestic sectors and relying heavily on foreign supply chains for basic energy infrastructure. It is a posture that demands enormous sacrifice from the domestic audience while delivering virtually no measurable leverage over global outcomes. To point this out is not to deny the real challenges of a changing climate. It is simply an exercise in elementary arithmetic and basic economic realism. As we navigate these complex political waters together, I gently plead and encourage you to hit that subscribe button below. Building a channel that cuts through the superficial noise requires a steady, dedicated audience, and every single subscription helps us bring you more in-depth, uncompromising political commentary. The broader lesson here extends far beyond a single summer or a specific series of weather events. It speaks to a fundamental flaw in contemporary political culture, where short-term media management consistently overrides long-term strategic planning. Whether the issue is energy grid resilience, criminal justice capacity, or public health preparedness, the pattern remains stubbornly consistent. Ignore the structural decay until a crisis erupts. Launch a flurry of high-profile PR initiatives to show that something is being done, and then frame any lingering criticism as bad faith or political hostility. Britain deserves a far more mature, pragmatic level of statecraft than the continuous cycle of performative crisis management currently on offer. Real competence is quiet, methodical, and rarely requires a frantic midnight press conference. Until our political class relearns the value of unglamorous, foundational governance, we will continue to find ourselves trapped in this exhausting cycle of manufactured drama and neglected reality. Thank you for spending your valuable time with us today. Please do take care, stay informed, and make sure to subscribe to Britain Underneath so you never miss our sharpest political breakdowns. Until next time, keep looking beneath the surface.